Hello, everyone. Tina here with Quantum Healing with Tina and Karen. Karen and I are just coming on today to talk about some recent shows and movies and information that we find interesting. Um, but first, Karen has something that she wants to share.
Yes, hello everybody. Karen here. Act natural. Okay, hold on. Okay, so as you saw, if you guys were tuning in that a couple of episodes ago, we did a little video on the Otter Spirit. So we're gonna bring this up again because they generously sent me three more bracelets that I wanted to share with you. These bracelets actually aren't for me, but I was able to get them for my daughter who really, really, really wanted some protective stones and, like really nice, yeah, just really nice gemstones that she really connected to. So, so as you saw in the last one, they come in a really nice box. They put them in a really cute bag, which I will show you in a second. Well, it's kind of stuck.
Yeah, and she's really sensitive, so
Yes.
she needs extra protection.
Yes, she does. So she really looked and took the time to pick and saw like what resonated with her. And do you have your bracelet with you? Mine's actually like I can't reach it, but anyway, they're thicker. The ones that we showed last time were like thicker beads. So the ones that she picked were a much more like smaller bead, which is really nice. Like
They're like cute and dainty.
that's a good word, dainty. So this is the
Dainty.
red jasper that she picked, and they also come with these like really nice cards and it tells you all about it. And in this card, it says, I am brave and won't give up, which I really resonated with. And it's totally her. Um, but yeah, just she picked two others. And what we really liked about this brand is that they do care. I feel like they really care about their product. They and a portion of the money that it goes to saving the otters out there in California, West Coast. So that's nice too. This
We
is
love the
another one.
otters.
Yes, we do. This is another one that she picked. It's a really pretty obsidian. So, because of the job that we do, of course, by extension, we pass that on to our children. And so obsidian is like my fan favorite. So I think this one, it says, I shield myself with protective energy. Very simple and straight to the point.
Yes, obsidian's very protective.
Hmm. And lastly, this is the one that I got last time, but mine was the bigger beaded one. Really pretty colors.
It's beautiful. I love that one.
Yes, this is the lapis lazuli. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And this one says, I'm connected to the infinite wisdom of the universe. So I found like the three of them put together, they look really cute on her and she feels protected. She feels connected. And yeah, it's just a nice little add-on. Every girl needs a little bit of jewelry. Like mine here. It's a little intense, but this is
It's
also
a little
protection.
intense.
It's a little intense, but it is protection. It is an obsidian arrowhead. I know it has nothing to do with Otter Spirit, but I just want to say like we have to protect ourselves at all times, as we all know. So for those of you that are interested in these amazing products, you can get them on otterspirit.com. And we have our own link. What is it? A code, quantum
Quantum Healing
healing.
20
Yeah.
or Quantum
Yeah.
Healing 30 for over $99. So you get
Yeah.
30% off. That's a good deal.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a really great deal. And they have amazing things that you can just scroll through and really make really nice gifts. So,
Yeah. They're
I
really
was
nice.
happy to gift this for her because again, she's a little girl. She knows exactly what she wants. So she made really good choices and I approve them.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
And we're back to our regular scheduled program.
Yeah. So there's so many things to talk about. But just a few things that came up recently is talking about the afterlife and a lot of people being concerned about like the soul trap and how does that work and all these kinds of things. And I happened to watch this really interesting movie about that. It's an older movie. It's called Haunter. And now I'm gonna give the whole plot away. If like you haven't seen it and want to see it, then don't listen. Spoiler alert. But it was really fascinating to me how they depicted this because this is something that we've actually seen before in our work where so the movie opens with this, teenage kind of angsty teenage girl. She's living in a home with her family, her brother, her mother, father. And what it starts showing you is that the same thing happens every single day. They are stuck in a time loop. And so it looks like as you're watching it, there's just like a regular family, mom's cooking dinner, dad's working on the car in the garage, brother's playing video games, and this girl's like doing her chores. She's in charge of like doing the laundry, and mom says like the same exact things happen every single day. And the teenage girl starts to wake up to that. Like she's the only one awake to the fact that this is looping and the same thing is happening every day and they can't go out of the house. Outside of the house, you can see through the windows, it's just like this fog, a white fog that surrounds the house. You can't see anything else outside of that. It's just the fog that surrounds the house. So it goes on and it's kind of starts to show you like clues about what's actually happening here. And it ends up being that this family, they are earthbound souls that are stuck in a time loop.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, they're earthbound souls stuck in a time loop. They think that they're still alive. So they think that they're still alive and they're still doing like their daily thing, making dinner, working on the car, playing video games, etc. Meanwhile, the girl is waking up to that, but she can't convince anyone else that that is what's happening because she doesn't even really realize what is happening. She doesn't know that she's dead yet. She still thinks
Oh,
that she's still alive until she starts to figure out the mystery. The mystery is that in this house, over time since 1953, um, there was a series of killings that happened. A murderer, Edgar, who they call the pale face guy, he pretty much shows up and says, because what they make it look like in the movie is that like the girl is sensing a ghost. She's sensing a ghost coming into her room. But what she's actually sensing is the living person that lives there.
shit. Okay.
Yeah, but she's sensing it as if it were a ghost when she's really the actual ghost that's living in this house. So it's kind of like,
What a twist.
yeah,
Well, what's that's interesting thought because when I was going to the washroom here in my home, I was looking at my son's room whose door is open, and I saw something again in my periphery. Again, my imagination was like, oh, could be somebody here. Somebody's here. I go, oh, maybe it's a ghost. And I'm like, fuck, no, am I dead? Am I dead? I'm still paying bills. Like, what the fuck?
yeah, right? So I know we've asked that question before, like could we actually be dead and we're living out this same kind of thing where we're, you know, not knowing that we're dead and still paying bills.
That would be a twist.
So yeah, so it ends up being that she starts to see these clues, and it's really interesting how they portray it because it's very true to reality and how it happens.
Right.
Very true to reality. How so basically what happened
Wow.
is this guy murdered all of these young girls, um, and he trapped them, their souls, in this house after. They
Whose
died.
house?
I think it was his house. I'm not
Okay.
exactly sure. My memories, I watched it a while ago, but anyway, it doesn't matter because it's like they're trapped through time in their timeline. So they're in their timelines, but they're all in the same space.
Ah,
Do you know what I mean? So this girl down here, her soul is still trapped in 1953, like living it out on a loop, not realizing that she's dead, but she's in the same space as this girl from 1992. And,
she's living
so,
in her space
right. But they're all living
in the room, same room, for
simultaneously.
example.
Yes. And he is in charge of it all. So he's keeping them all here so he can continue to siphon their energy, basically.
He's a human
Yes,
murderer.
he's a human.
And how, do they show how he keeps the souls there?
They don't show how he does it, but
Yeah, they don't
it
want to
ha
give away some tricks.
it has something to do with their belongings. So something to do with like the energy of them that are in these belongings. You know how like murderers keep like trophies.
Hmm.
So they'll keep like an item, a necklace, an earring, a scarf, like whatever it is. And she finds this collection of those things. And I think that is what's keeping their energy tied to that place. Is their things, like their energy that's in those things are keeping them tied there.
Interesting. And what about her family members? How does that tie in?
I'm not sure. I can't remember right now like
Okay.
how they
But she was murdered.
died. They all they must have all died together. Um But anyway, she figures out the puzzle and she ends up freeing them. So in the end, they all walk out of the house through the fog. The fog starts to clear and open up. And then you see the big bright white light LED that's waiting
Oh,
there for
fuck.
them.
And they go on to the next. Damn.
Hmm.
It's like from one trap to another.
Hmm.
That's
So
crazy.
that's the first layer of the trap is becoming earthbound. That's the first layer. Not this happens all the time where human souls die, don't realize they're dead, or their energy is so low that they can't move on from here. So they get stuck, or there's someone that's in really in denial or grief about that loss that is like holding them here like a tether. So someone that's in a really deep grief and shock can hold a soul here, like almost like tethering them here. Um, And it can also happen when they are attached to like certain objects, houses, a lot of times, like, they don't move on because they're so attached to their house that they want to keep this house and stay here. And so what ends up happening is they haunt like everybody else that ends up moving into that house over time. That's how like hauntings happen because somebody gets so attached to their house, say they've built it from the ground up or whatever the case was. Like there are many ways and reasons why people get attached to things. And this is why it's so important for us to release our attachments, not just to things, but to belief systems and thought processes and, um, like religions and people and things like that. It's because those attachments keep us tethered here. So I thought like if you watch that, you'll see kind of how the process of that whole trapping system of keeping souls tethered to the earth plane. And so when he does that, he has like full control over everything that happens there. And he tells her like, don't you dare talk to the living. Like he forbids her to talk to the living so that she can't access any kind of help. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. And in other cases, we've seen where earthbounds that aren't necessarily trapped by like a murderer, but are trapped by sorcerers. or that are trapped by reptilians that hold those souls. And sometimes what they'll do is they'll like push them in to somebody else's energy field. That's happened to me before, where like a reptilian pushed like a whole bunch of earthbound souls that he had contained into my field, like as an attack. And those were the souls that we saw that had been sacrificed, like in that park in Montreal, like in the underground system.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I saw a session recently that was done by a woman. I cannot remember her name right now, but she also saw the same thing. She was helping somebody like release all of these spirits that she had accumulated, and they were also being contained there by reptilians. So,
We've done a few sessions like that where we had to release a lot, no, from people.
yeah. Yeah.
Feels familiar.
Hmm. Yeah. Because I mean, people, humans and our energy fields that we can hold a lot. We can hold thousands, millions of souls, of spirits, of entities of all kinds. And, you know, a lot of times this will show up and manifest in people as like hearing voices and schizophrenia and even multiple personalities and things like that, where people shift really quickly. It's because they're holding a lot of energy in their field, and those influences affect thoughts, they affect behavior. They're always, if you think of the human body and energy system as an antenna or a conduit, we are basically conduits. The brain is an antenna, and we are being influenced all the time, whether that's coming from internally or externally. And our job is to begin to decipher where are these impulses coming from, right? Like, what is actually coming from me, my true core self, my divine spark? And what is being influenced? What is coming from maybe something in my subconscious that I haven't explored yet, or something that's coming from externally that is trying to influence my behavior, actions, thoughts, etc. So these are really important awarenesses to have, that not all of your thoughts are yours, and they can be very much influenced by the spirit world, thoughts that are implanted, and um, for any number of reasons. I mean, there are a lot of different reasons why spirits would want to influence you to do certain things. So, yeah, that movie was, I thought it was a really good depiction on how that first level of trapping
Mm,
works.
like a charm.
Yeah, like that's like the first level of it. Like you have to get yourself past the earth plane and not get stuck here.
Right. Well, we saw that too, like in that other Netflix show, Dead Boy Detective.
Hmm.
Like when there was a murder that happened in the house and it just kept looping and looping and looping
Yeah.
right
So,
before the murder and then a little bit post murder and then it starts off again.
right, because the charge of an act like that stays in the environment. The energy doesn't clear on its own, right? Energy never dies. It stays, and it, if it's not cleared and transmuted, it just kind of repeats itself on that loop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so that's one of the ways like souls can be contained and kind of diverted from moving on by another, say, more powerful entity, or an entity that has, even if it's humans can do that too. Like if there's an earthbound human that is has the intention of controlling other earthbounds, it can do that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's one way that souls can be contained, especially when the death is traumatic. So murders, accidents, like anything that's like shocking or like sudden,
Yeah. Throws you out of body.
unaliving, like those kinds of things. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, the other thing we saw recently that was super interesting, and this is something we've seen before, but I don't think we've ever really talked about it here. But so we were looking at, so this client has been with us for a while now, over a year and a half, about a year and a half, and we've done probably about 15 sessions. And she was one of these people that had like tons of energy just and spirits and entities and stuff like stuck in her field. So we're kind of been walking through the process of untangling that big web of stuff that she's carrying. And we got to this place where um I forget what she was feeling responsible for, but there was like some kind of feeling of responsibility there. Do you remember? Remember
Keep talking.
the light being. So we tracked it back to, so there was some kind of like feeling of responsibility that I think was leading to. So when you feel responsible for something, you're going to hold that in your field.
Oh, so then everything that you do or that happens, you are pretty much inserting yourself because there's an automatic programming in there,
Right.
right? Of
You're absorbing
responsibility.
it, right? Because you feel responsible for it. So you're absorbing that into your energy field and making it your own subconsciously. This is subconscious. This is not a conscious process where, like, oh, I feel responsible for that. So let me take that, all these spirits into me because I feel responsible. This is like what it tracked back to was ancient, something very, very ancient that happened. So when we talk about the subconscious, like we talked about in the last video, being the iceberg, and our conscious mind is on top, that little tiny piece of the iceberg on top, and our subconscious is this huge underground iceberg. This is the huge underground iceberg that we're looking at, and we're tracking this feeling of responsibility. Where does it come from? And we track it back to ancient. This is ancient. I feel this is ancient inside of me. It goes way, 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 way back. Okay. So let's see what the memory is. What is the memory connected to this ancient feeling, this knowing, this thing that is like so deep within you? Where does it stem back to so that we can pull out that root and you can set yourself free from feeling responsible for everything? So we track it back to I'm a light being. I'm this huge, expansive light being just floating around in the cosmos, and I feel amazing. And then the next thing that happens is this spaceship comes out of nowhere and starts
Comes the used
shooting.
car salesman.
Yeah. Starts shooting this light being with like these, so she's like this soft golden energy, and this spaceship is shooting these like darts at her, and they look like these bright white artificial light. So it's not the soft golden light, it's this artificial light, these darts, and she described them as like being like an infection. So it was all these little dots and darts that they were throwing at her energy field to weaken her. Once they weakened her, they shrunk her down, they pulled her into a containment, like a bottle, and pulled her onto the ship. So this is how they trap light beings and use them for power, which is like wild. So they did. They contained her in that, say, a bottle. Um, brought her aboard the ship, and then they were using her energy to power the ship. And
Right.
so that's where the feeling of being responsible for everything came from, because she was responsible for keeping that ship going. She was responsible for feeding these entities on the ship her energy. And if she were to withdraw that energy, then nothing could work. And if she would withdraw her energy, then another light being would be trapped, and she would feel responsible for that, because
Mhm.
withdrawing her energy would mean somebody else would be trapped.
Right. And we couldn't correlate, or she couldn't correlate, like how that computes. Like, how did I feel? Was that the question? Like, how is that equate to a responsibility? Right.
Yeah, it right before we kind of put together that she was powering the ship, we're like, well, how does that how does this connect to the feeling of responsibility? That was before we saw that she was powering the ship. And I'm like, okay, well,
Right.
there's the connection. There's the being responsible for something. And in she was, because she wasn't in the fullness of herself, she was in a weakened state.
Oh
So
yeah.
she wasn't able to see clearly or think clearly or even realize that she actually did have the power to get herself out of there, which is what she ended up doing. So she was able to get herself, expand herself out of that containment system, um, dissolve it, dissolve the ship, send it back to source. I forget exactly the process that happened, but it was, she saved herself and she healed herself, returned herself to the original, you know, soft, glowing, expanded light being that she was, releasing herself of that feeling of responsibility, because it was never her responsibility in the first place. They forced that upon her.
They
And in,
programmed her with the
right,
darts.
yes, they programmed her with the darts. So that's another way that beings can be contained. Baba is agreeing. He doesn't like it. Um, yeah, and I think these are good. It's a good awareness to have, because it's like, well, what do you do in that case? And I think in that case, you have to realize that no matter how much they weaken you, you still have the power. You still are the power. You're the power source. Even in that weakened state, being contained in a little bottle, you're still powering that whole ship. You're still powering this whole thing. So you must still have power.
Right. I feel like there's like when they get you, there's like that inability to see oneself, like the true, I guess they're to become aware of oneself. Like you become unconscious.
Mm.
They dart you with unconsciousness that you can't see the totality of yourself. And that's why you're just focusing on, one's trauma, or why people are like, they're so depleted and sick, like physically sick with chronic illness and trauma after trauma, and surrounded by shit family and friends and a shit job and life, that you can't even see your power anymore because you're so focused on the suffering and being in a victimized state. So they also cloak you with that unconsciousness of victimization.
That that is powerful.
Yeah, because then it's so easy to stay there. And I think that's another thing that I wanted to point out too, is that do people even, like, yes, I think in the forefront they say, I want to be free, but there's a safety in not being free. There's a secondary gain in it that you have to ask yourself, do I really want it? There's a huge responsibility that you have to take by being really free. So, I mean, like, in the grander scheme of it, it makes me wonder, like, who is really going to get out of here? Like, who really wants to get out of here?
Can you say
Because
more about that?
ask me question.
Will you say that everybody says they want to be free, but do they really want to be free? Because being free requires being fully responsible and accountable for self
Radically.
radically,
Radically is hard.
because it's easier to be told what to do.
Fall back into old patterns. What's safe, what feels safe equates to still,
Mhm.
or sorry, being enslaved to a certain degree equates to safety. Therefore,
Yes.
I'm not rocking the boat. It's comfortable. I'm okay here. Like, leave me alone. It's quiet. It's peaceful.
Because that's what I know and it's comfortable.
Yeah, for sure. I don't want to be target. Like I've I know now what a target is, and I don't want to be target.
What do you mean?
Like, if okay, when we say that, like, I gave that example of somebody who's like completely like degraded and stuck in their victimhood because of the amount of, you know, attacks that has happened upon them purposefully to block and shield themselves from seeing their true light, their true likeness.
The infection took over.
Yeah, the infection took over. Um, shit, I lost it. What was I saying before that?
So somebody is in this degraded state.
Yes, I had a point, Tina. I
And we were talking about how it's more comfortable to stay in that state where it's safer to stay there.
Yes, I think to a certain degree it is safe to stay there because it's all you know. And it's like, it's almost like I don't want to do anything about it, or I want someone to do something for me.
Hmm.
Like, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Like, why do I have to do it? Because being able to really see and recognize your true light then puts a huge responsibility, another responsibility on yourself.
Yeah. So it's easier to just stay in the glass bottle and let people pull your power than it is to save yourself, taking responsibility, like breaking yourself out of the bottle and
Yeah.
being in your expanded state.
Yeah. Instead of like the little gratifying moments of like people, feeding that void in you, feeding the emptiness.
Yeah.
I think we're so used to being picked at and victimized, and, that's more relatable versus being isolated in your own consciousness, being completely aware, fully aware of what's going on, and really seeing through the veil and not denying the veil, not denying how it affects you individually and how it's affecting people collectively. So it's like when you're seeing that whole collective bubble or the cloud, the dark cloud, and then you like pluck yourself out of there and you're really seeing it for what it is. It's really scary and isolating,
Mm.
or you can't unsee. But we've had like certain people that have kind of like had glimpses of the out of the cloud and then just, I'm gonna go back in here. And then that's when they go in like the Homer, like where it's like,
Behind the bush.
yeah, yeah, I don't want to see it.
Mm.
Very rarely, but it does happen where they go back to ignorance because it's safe.
Mm. Yeah, and healing in some cases becomes a threat to those parts of self that want to hide.
That's the tricky part because those parts of you that exist inside of that shadow and the bottom part of the iceberg, they it's like you don't know them and they don't know you. So you're a threat to them.
Mm,
So any kind of like, they have kill switch programming in there too,
mm.
or protector systems that will shut that down or sabotage. So that, again, look at that shiny thing over there or whatever. And so your focus goes there and not what the issue is inside or whatever exists inside.
So that's the deflection. So I'm going to deflect it from me to whatever else. It doesn't even
Whatever.
matter what it is, just something
Relevant.
else.
Yeah.
Right, because those parts can be really tricksters. They can be tricksters. They're very good in the way they've learned how to manipulate and divert attention away from themselves in order not to be seen. Because to be
Right.
seen is a threat to their existence.
Right. And we've seen that just not just with them, but all subparts or entities or whatever, like a threat to their existence. So then they'll put on all the stops to stop that because they don't know, or at least the subparts that are actually part of the core self don't realize that they are not going to be deleted. Just like how people say, the kill, the ego death and all that stuff. It's not that you can't really do that. That's
Right. You
it's almost
can't kill
you
parts
can't.
of yourself.
No, they can only really just either you shoo them away and they get louder, or you heal them, understand them through and through, and welcome them back in to integrate. That's the part that they don't understand is that communication part of like you're coming back home. It's not, we're not separate anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So really
It
the disease is the becoming unconscious.
the infection is unconsciousness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and those disavowed parts of self that we push down into the iceberg.
The more you push down, the more powerful they can really be.
Mm.
They have their own consciousness practically.
I don't know if we talked about this in the last video, but it's so important for people to realize that these disavowed sub personalities can work and act independently of you. So even though you don't have the intention to harm someone, that doesn't matter
It has
because
nothing to do. It's
this
independent.
this part has fractured off and formed a whole other person, like literally a whole other personality. And that part of you can act independently of you to hurt other people.
Yeah, dissociative identity disorder. Watch Fight
Right.
Club. That's an
Energetically,
example.
I'm talking about energetically. And I know this because I've worked with a lot of people and I will get backlash from their sub personalities that feel threatened by me because they see me as a threat to their existence. So when we're moving into say a session where this is going to come up, like there's already a knowing in the system that this is going to come up to the surface. And so they will start to take it out on me energetically, psychically attacking me days before a session even happens in the hopes to prevent the session from happening so that they are not seen.
Yeah. I don't get the attacks as crazy as Tina does, but sometimes the way that it'll come to me is that it'll work through my kids.
Yeah.
And that really gets me.
Yeah, that's wild. This is what I mean when I say that the human is an antenna. It's like we are conduits. We have to be aware at all times of what is influencing us. What are we interpreting through our nervous systems? Because it's not always us. It doesn't always belong to us. So yes, these sub personalities, they act like entities. They act in the same exact way a
Mm,
negative dark force entity would act. They
yeah.
can wield black magic. They can put curses on you. They can put spells on you. They can do all kinds of crazy stuff because they are an independent entity.
And keep the front core self in a trance state to them.
Right. Where the person that I'm working with has no idea that this is happening in the background, is not conscious of it at all, because this part is so disconnected from the core. It's been banished. These parts of us that are banished to wherever the background, like if you don't turn to actually face them and get to know them and help them heal through their wounds, because I'm getting attacked right now just talking about it. Um, it if you don't face them and hold them and heal their wounds, because really what's at the root of all of their anger is hurt. It always comes back to hurt, but they
Mm-hmm.
have to be willing to face the hurt in order to move through it. The reason why all of these coping mechanisms are formed is to avoid sitting with the hurt.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's really just a hurt child in there in the end, and that child can then and often does make pacts with negative entities to feel even more powerful. Yes.
I just had a thought about that, like why you might be, like the center of attacks like that. It just made me wonder because like we've seen in like your astrology stuff that you are, you're like you've been here for a very long time. Your existence has been here. So it's almost like, you've been a mother to a mother. And we know that there is a collective wound of mother. So it's almost like the attacks go to you because you are the mother,
Yeah.
like that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, my body released.
Great.
Absolutely. Like 1,000%. There's a lot of, so sometimes that does happen where there is the transference. So their mother wound is diverted to me, transferred to me. And that's why I
Mm-hmm.
get like the backlash of that. That is true. Yeah, makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you gotta drop that. How you could drop that
The
mother.
mom energy, I don't know.
See, there's still like, mysteries like how, because I think that would solve a lot of things.
I'm not your mommy.
Yeah.
Your mommy.
Mommy.
But I've had to do that before. Like I've had little parts, just thinking of one in particular, that have come to me before session to show me what happened to them. And here I am, like holding this little baby that was like, it was like, it wasn't a big incident. It was something, that people aren't conscious enough to realize the effects that they have on their small children, especially babies. It was something where the baby was sitting in a seat. The mother came over and kind of like angrily picked her up.
Hmm.
But in that interaction, she
It's
absorbed
the
all the mother's
trans.
anger.
Yeah, that's that transference.
Right. So the transference of that tiny 1 second interaction, the baby absorbed all of that into her.
God.
That's the
Power
detriment,
of
the power
unconsciousness.
of unconsciousness. Yes. That's the power of unconsciousness.
Yeah,
And it's
correct.
not it's not about like dark and evil and like those, it's unconscious. What is dark and evil? Evil is the opposite of live, right? So the opposite of life. So it's conscious and unconscious. That unconsciousness is the core of all the trauma in the world.
Hmm.
Unconsciousness and things that we do that we're not even thinking about, like something so simple like that. The way you handle a child, the way you approach a child, and the way they're always absorbing. If there's one thing that we've seen throughout our sessions 100% of the time is that child is absorbing the energy of the parents. It's transferred. And so later in life, when they're still carrying those mother and father wounds and they're working with healers, that mother wound can often be projected onto the healer or therapist or counselor or priest or whoever it is that is like counseling and trying to help that person heal. Those wounds will get transferred back onto them. So it's just this back and forth until we just bring it into the light of consciousness and look at it and sit with it. And even though it hurts and it feels unsafe and it's overwhelming and all of those triggering and all of those things, like it's not going to stop bouncing back and forth until we bring it up and out and into the light and transmute that energy once and for all. It's just going to keep bouncing around, transferring from one person to another and never getting resolved. That's the power of unconsciousness and the power of consciousness that when you actually look it in the eye, it can't have power over you anymore because then you actually have a choice. Do I still want to act and behave and cope in this way, or do I want to change? That's when your free will becomes engaged instead of transferring and deflecting and reversing things. You actually sit with that and take accountability for it. That's when things can change. But until then, it's just bouncing around. So, whew, yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. It's like we're trying to deal with our own consciousness and we have to deal with other people's consciousness too on top of it.
Yeah. One other fun thing I wanted to talk about.
Oh, fun. I love fun. Please bring it up.
So I watched The Boroughs on Netflix. I know you haven't watched it yet,
It's
but
okay. You could tell me about it.
it was
I like spoiler
fascinating.
alerts.
Yeah, another one. Um, oh, we watched The Body Snatchers too.
Oh, that was so good.
Wait, let's start with that. So what year was that made? A 78?
About, yeah.
And who was in that? Jeff Goldblum,
Donald Sutherland.
Donald Sutherland.
And I think it was like not a really popular actress, but we thought that she was in Superman, but it's not her.
Yeah, she looks like Lois Lane, but it's not. Anyway, in the movie, they show the opening scene is they're on another planet, right? Out in the cosmos, they're on another planet, and these little
Spores or whatever.
like spores or like I don't know if you guys know about morgellons, but I've done a lot of deep research into morgellons. Um, but they look like morgellons. They look like
They're just like flying in
fungal, they're like
network.
fungal hyphae, like a fungal network, and inside of them they have little glowing lights, which is exactly how they show up now. So in 1978, they make this movie, and in the opening scene, these white kind of transparent filaments with little glowing lights, they're flying through the universe. they, they fly into Earth and they land and they start growing into they grow tentacles and they start appearing like little pods with a flower on top. And people start to become infected by the pods. And what happens is so when a person comes in contact with it, it starts to grow that person's a whole new body for that person.
Like a
And that
doppelganger
uh,
clone or something.
yeah, like a doppelganger or clone. And then when that person falls asleep, they die and the new clone takes over their life. Right? It's
Yeah.
wild.
It's a fast growing fungus.
Yeah. But if we compare that to what's actually happening now, that's exactly what's happening. These fungal morgellons networks, technological in nature also, are taking over people. So the
Mhm.
people you see walking around now are not the same people they were, like you were talking about. Just, I don't even think that was in this video. It was in another thing. We were talking earlier about how people are not the same since 2020.
Right.
They're
They've
different.
deteriorated after the millennium.
Right. Because
There's a
now,
time switch.
yes, because those body snatchers took them over.
They did,
Yes.
and it got worse. Like they deteriorated. Probably another death occurred at 2020 with the introduction of those thingies, and then
Directly into
AI
the body. Yeah.
directly into the body, and then AI, the introduction of AI, or not introduction, but the singularity of AI coming in thereafter, turning on the complete network and shutting down consciousness, or at least evading it completely, so that the AI can then merge with the consciousness.
Right. So what happened to the people when they were body snatched? They literally became automatons.
Yeah, like how they're walking.
Zero. Yeah.
They're like how they don't know what sound they made. They would shriek.
They would shriek when they saw people who were still people,
People like,
still human.
yeah,
But yeah, they were just purely automatons, no emotion. So that was the key. They had no emotion. So in order to blend in with them, you had to pretend that you had no emotions.
right.
But it seemed like the only emotions they could access were like
They would get me
anger,
right. They would get me right away because, yeah, of course, anger.
right? Because they would go after the human. So they did have some emotion. It was just again on the wrong end of the spectrum, with like just able to access anger. And that's what you see in like narcissists and psychopaths and that, uh those
That's the easy one to
cluster
access
B personalities, because anger is the easiest for them to access. So that's all they were able to.
on that side of the spectrum. And then, whereas on the opposite side of the spectrum, with the empaths, it's easier to have more compassion and love.
Right. And then that goes into sadness and depression. They get low instead of into the anger, they go lower into those frequencies.
So, yeah, that was just interesting to see the takeover via the fungus and the pods that they were born out of.
Wait. There has been this fungus growing around in the neighborhood that I've never seen before. It's so weird. It's like
Been
these,
saying this for years now. This is different now.
it's different. It's different. So remember last week I told you I saw those like spider web like
Mm,
looking things flying down from the sky. Like
hmm
they just look like spider filaments, just thin. It looked like a spider web, but there's no spiders. It's just the web
hmm
falling down from the sky. And then there was like, it looked like there were nested spiders like in the mulch, but it's not spiders. It's just this fungus that's like spreading through the air. And there's this other, so that's one. And then there's this other fungus. It's like growing up from the ground and it's like, it looks like red fingers.
You know what? Can you take a picture of this?
No, I haven't even done that because I've been so grossed out by it.
Can you take a picture and show me? Or I'll
I
just
will,
wait.
I will, I will, I will. Um, yeah, it looks like red fingers poking out of the dirt. And I'm like, oh my God, what is this? It's so
Did you pull it
gross.
out?
No, I didn't touch it. I'm not spreading those spores. No,
Red
it's not
fingers.
by it's like it's in over there. I don't know. But it look, and the flies are like hanging around it. Like it's like death. Like,
Dead. Ew.
yeah, whatever it is, it's not.
Oh yeah. You said there's no butterflies, there's no bees. but there's flies.
There's flies. There's not, I think I dreamt of a bee last night, actually.
That's
I
nice.
did. I dreamt of a bee last night, but I have not seen one in real life.
Because they're hanging out in a different dimension where we're not in.
Yeah, they must be.
We're
They
in like
must
the
have rolled.
we're in the death.
They must have rolled out of here. Like,
Or
sorry, we're out of here. But yeah, so the body snatchers, that and the parallels to what's happening now. Like they had to know back then that this was coming. So why make a movie like that? And it's also connected to the pods that so the soul pods keep coming up. Like people are doing like remote viewings and they're seeing the pods. There was like a lady that had an NDE that saw the pods. So the pods are also coming up again. And that's another like containment system because I think that we were initially free in the pods, but I don't think we're free anymore. I think that's being controlled. Um, so the pods again, like connected to the containment, connected to the body snatching and the takeover the of consciousness, the collective death spell. So this is like a collective death spell that's being sent out, and I think that we need to do some clearing work around that. It was connected to the vaccine and how it was self-spreading. So it was more than just a physical phenomenon. It was more than just like an energy transfer. It was actually the transfer of a death spell from person to person as these vaccines went out. And that's why, also why everything has changed since then.
yeah, you could really feel it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, that was that. And then, real quick, before I know we have to go soon, but the Burrows, if you guys haven't watched that yet, watch it because it's showing you a lot of truth about what's going on. And spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it yet, um, I'm going to talk about it now. So basically, in that show, the backstory is that someone finds an egg. Like,
Good start.
I think it's like in the desert, New Mexico, or it's like out in the West somewhere, like an egg. What hatches from this egg is an alien.
Mm-hmm.
They somehow realize that the blood of this alien makes them younger, keeps them young, and makes
Okay.
them younger. So what they do is they trap her in an underground space. In the show they depict her as an old woman, but I think she's actually a dragon.
My God.
They trap her in an underground space and in a medical lab so they can draw her blood. And she has babies, and her babies are these like weird spider creature dragon looking things. And what they do is they build a whole town on top of this space. So she's underground, her babies are born. They're using her blood to stay alive. It's like this golden liquid, and they're using that to keep themselves young. So this is happening in like maybe 30s, 40s, like early 1900s. And they build a whole town on top of it so that they can recruit people to come to move into this retirement community. So they're recruiting older people to move into this retirement community. It's a really nice community. They have a community center. They have a Baba, what's wrong? Okay, well, you take care of that. Um, he's not happy. Use your big cat. I'm getting a weird phone call right now.
But
Let me just pause. Hold on. Intrusions.
you're talking about the at this old folks home or something. They had like community center and all this business.
Yeah, they build this whole retirement community. They market it as being at a really nice place. And so the topic of the show, they show like this cul-de-sac where like there's what, like five houses, and this new guy's moving in, and they're tracing this new guy, and like you're getting clues along the way that something's just not right there, right? So what it ends up being is the children of the dragon lady, they go out at nighttime through the underground tunnels because there's all tunnels underneath, because the tunnels go back to the labs where the dragon is and where these people are.
Mm-hmm.
So the children go out through the tunnels, and there's a tunnel that goes to each home, and it comes up into the house through the oven. There's like,
Mm-hmm.
if you open the oven, you can see down, like it goes down into the tunnel, but it comes up through the oven. It goes into the bedroom, and it's like hanging over top of people while they sleep, putting something in their mouth.
This is
To,
sorry. Is this in the five houses? Like it happens
yes,
to those five houses?
it happens to everybody in the community.
Oh, like they go through their ovens. Like every
Yes.
underground thing is connected.
Yeah,
But
but
they're
they're only showing you the five people, like the five
okay,
people.
so but it's known that they go everywhere. Okay, go ahead.
It's known, it's not known. These
No,
people don't know it's happening. These
I
people
mean
have,
by known is what they're revealing in the show.
yeah, they're revealing that this is what's happening to the people that live there.
Gotcha.
And so what ends up happening is one of the guys dies. And there's a lot of deaths. And so they start alluding to like there's a lot of deaths that they have to, because it's an old people place. Like of course there's going to be deaths. So this is how they cover it up, like because they're old and oh, they just died, but really it was from
They, as
this
in the scientists,
the scientists.
are covering it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
The people that built this town are elites. They're elite people. The people that have money, they have a history of, like being like aristocratic background, like they're wealthy people who built this town. And these are the wealthy people, the elite people that are running this whole process so that they can keep themselves alive with the blood of the dragon. So what happens is her babies, her children, the weird spider creatures go into the bedrooms at night. They hang over top of them from the ceiling. They put their like proboscis down into the back of the throat, and they drain their cerebral spinal fluid. They take that cerebral spinal fluid back. They feed it to the mother dragon to keep her alive. And then her blood feeds the elite people.
What the fuck?
So this was so interesting that I happened to watch this right before we did a session where we saw an underground dragon. And I didn't even tell you that I
My
saw
God.
this show. I didn't even tell you anything about it. And
I
you
don't know
saw that
anything.
there was a dragon trapped in an underground space underneath of this town. There was like elite involvement in this. There was some kind of like protective shield over the town, so we couldn't fully see what was happening. It was almost like
I know, I'm listening to you and I'm like seeing exactly what I saw in the session. And I'm like, what the hell?
so the dragon lady was being held captive there against her will. She was kind of resigned to it. But what she was doing, which was fascinating, was she was sending out telepathic messages to people that she knew could hear her or get her messages. And how she was showing up to them was she was using something that they would know. So for the guy that they were following, it was his wife that died. She was showing up as his wife that died in his visions and dreams, trying to get the message to him that she needed help. Yeah. So this all gets figured out. He figures it out that she needs help. Um, they end up saving her. They go and rescue her from the lab. They bring her to this cave where her and her babies all come together and they die. They basically implode on
They
themselves.
free her too.
They free her and the
Wow. How long was she there for? Did they have an
well,
idea?
since like they said they found the egg in the early 1900s, so
And this was present day. That wow, poor thing.
right. And we are seeing the same thing in the session where this dragon was being held captive under there
For centuries
for centuries.
since they
Established the
since
town, which was like 1500s or something.
I don't know when they established a town, but at least when the settlers start to come on the land.
Yeah. They captured the dragon and trapped it in the underground.
I'm sure the dragon,
And she's still there.
yeah, if I feel it, it's like was there but was free because of who, if there were like the indigenous people that were living there, that they had allowed for this creature to be free and then was captured when the settlers stole the land and imprisoned her under.
By but you saw she was captured by some like weird beings. It wasn't humans that captured her, right?
Well, it could have been the weird beings that came with the settlers
Hmm.
from the other continents.
Yeah. So anyway, this connects to time travel and the P-52s and all of that stuff that we don't
Ugh.
have time to talk about now.
We'll make another video. Could we write that down, like to make a continuation of part two?
CERN, which is going to be shutting down on the 29th,
Oh, good. We'll be together then.
part two. All right, yeah. But so I do think that these things happen in physical. I think that they do have physical dragons trapped that they probably feed from. Because this is a story that is repeated throughout movies and shows and like how the dragon is always female, the dragon is trapped, they either take the babies from her and that's why they have this aggressive nature because they're pissed that
Oh,
their
shit.
babies were stolen or they've been held captive or whatever, but it's really because of what has been done to them, right? So it comes back to the hurt of why that aggression is there.
The vengeance of that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. All right. We will do that next time.
Yes, we will. So that was a great conversation. It was really interesting. And we will come back for part two. But before that, I'll say thank you again to Otter Spirit.
It's so funny.
So, again, for those of you that are interested in Otter Spirit, please go check out otterspirit.com. And
Quantum
yeah,
Healing 20.
yep, or 30, Quantum Healing 30.
Yep.
That's
All
it.
right, guys. We'll see you next time.
All right.
Bye. Wait. Okay.